Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Sorry I've Been M.I.A. I'm Mia, your host. Welcome back to the podcast. So excited to be here. If you're watching, you can obviously tell things are a little bit more professional. We have a mic here. We fixed our lighting. And if you're listening, hopefully you can tell that the audio is better. And if you're annoyed by my voice, then you are not in luck because now you're going to hear it even crisper than ever. Anyways, we're back from my living room. Today it's just me. So it's basically going to be me airing out my shower thoughts, which is honestly harder than it looks to sit here with the camera and also have your team members sitting here watching you and listen, and kind of makes you feel like you're obsessed with yourself because you are literally talking about yourself to a camera for about 45 minutes straight without any interruptions. So that is super fun for me. However, if you know me, you probably make fun of me or have made fun of me for talking about myself a lot or just for making stories about myself. Really a bad habit of mine, but this is the best way to dish it out. It really is. However, I am used to talking to a camera and feeling super awkward doing it because if you didn't know, I had a YouTube channel in high school that I was obviously bullied for by my guy friends. Super awkward for me. It was like vlogs and lifestyle stuff and me trying to like go viral and be exactly like Olivia Jade. But obviously I did not live up to par for that at all. So yes, I was made fun of already. And that's why I'm here with zero shame. And again, I got many questions actually after the first episode, if this was like for a class situation or why I'm doing this. Again, I really can just talk to a wall. That's really what it is. I don't like my voice, but I do enjoy hearing myself speak. So there's that. I don't enjoy the video part only because it was recently brought to my attention that I have chronic motor tic disorder. If anyone knows what that is, I have a blinking problem that was just recently brought to my attention. It is self-diagnosed, but my dad, sorry dad if you're watching, which you probably are, he blinks very harshly mid-sentence, and especially when he like gets stressed or is talking about something that's high stress, and he'll like really like blink his eyes. And I guess I inherited that over the past few years. And my friends at school pointed it out, and I brought it to the attention of my parents who thought that I was crazy. And I was like, no, it's because you've never noticed it on my dad. Point being, now there's a video posted of me on the internet, and there's no being mysterious either, which is actually something I was talking about with my friends recently. Is I don't know how people are mysterious or like come off as mysterious. I could never. I literally have a podcast with my name in the title. Like, I just can't be that type of person. Anyways, here we are, second episode. Things are gonna be super fun. I thought that let's just sit down, you guys and me, one-on-one or one to however many people are watching this actually. Let's get to know me a little bit better, and let's just talk about the evolution of my college career, because a lot has gone down the past 4 years. I'm again in my final semester at Syracuse, and things have been crazy. And looking back on who I was freshman year, I have changed a lot. Definitely for the better, but obviously I've had my ups and downs, and we're going to kind of just dish that through and go through everything, go through the crazy stories that have happened, relationship stuff, career stuff, friendships, recruitment, which we kind of touched on in the first episode. But things really change obviously in 4 years, especially as we know from the first episode, coming all the way from California. Like, I just did not know what I was in for. So let's get into it. Anyways, I know we spoke in the first episode about freshman year friendships, but I felt this was really the time to deep dive on it. As we know, really with any college that does rush second semester, your friend group changes so much. I'm very lucky that I met a lot of the people that I'm close with early on, and like I'm beyond lucky that things worked out with Sloan as my roommate, because A, I don't know who I would have roomed with. Like, seriously, I would have been the worst roommate ever and would have gotten fed up with anyone that I lived with. And B, like, it's just good to have somebody as like a liaison since the first day of school. And that's also where I met one of my best friends, Carly, which you guys will be meeting in either the next episode or the one after that. And again, I was really lucky to like have a group, but I wouldn't say I was confined to one group like the first semester. Like, I think I had a lot of other friends that I started making some guy friends that year, but I think I was still like very awkward and breaking out of my shell. So that was kind of the beginning of freshman year, was kind of like figuring myself out. Again, as we know from the first episode, I had very bizarre outfits. So I don't know if I came off as like intimidating to other girls or if I genuinely came off as weird. I am going to opt for option B on this one, that I think I looked a little bit weird. Nobody else was wearing what I was wearing, and I don't think that was in a good way. But otherwise, I think I really was still figuring everything else out. And I think that because I never went to sleepaway camp or had an experience being around people my age 24/7, this was my way of like really hanging out with friends all the time and getting to know myself and getting to know myself in a social setting. Because while I was very social in high school and had all my really close high school friends and my really close guy friends that I'm still close with too, I didn't know how that would transfer over into college. Also, keep in mind, I thought that college, like, I had this whole idea that it was literally going to be like pitch perfect. Like, I thought that like people would be super involved, and I thought that there would be like the group of troublemakers that I would get really close with and like have a really like good group of guy friends off the bat and like through clubs and organizations. By the way, I was fully convinced coming to college that I was going to meet my husband at Hillel. If you guys don't know what Hillel is, it is like the student college or Jewish organization where you go to for Jewish events. I was fully convinced I was going to meet my husband at Hillel because my sister went to Chapman and Hillel was big there, and she met a lot of people through that organization. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to find my Jewish husband in college. I think we all know how that goes. Even if you don't know me, pretty clear. I did not find a husband nor boyfriend nor situationship through Hillel. I actually think maybe I went twice. But that was my idea of college, is I thought that I would go in with a big group of friends and I would meet people immediately. I will say I got lucky with meeting people, and like I never really felt awkward, probably just because I overshare off the bat, and I think that's what maybe gets people to feel comfortable with me quickly. At least I would hope so. Maybe I'm just like gassing myself up right now for no reason. But anyways, I had this like quintessential idea of college, and I was kind of shocked that it wasn't anything like that. I remember like I would barely go to classes because I didn't know how to work Blackboard, which is what we use for like art classes and how we get our assignments. Like I just didn't really feel like figuring it out. Also, my mom went to UCLA where classes are like 200, 250 plus people in your class, and attendance wasn't mandatory. So I automatically thought like, oh, why would I need to go to my classes here? Like I don't need to, I'll get caught up on work. That actually never ended up happening. I did do pretty well. Maybe not in one class, not my proudest moment. However, you live and you learn. Then let's cut to second semester recruitment. Okay, guys, here's the thing, is with freshman year friend groups, again, you hear that they're gonna change and you know they're gonna change after recruitment, but I genuinely took every single day, day by day. And I know that sounds stupid because I know and I understand, and a lot of my friends were anxious every day and they were homesick and they didn't know what to expect. But I think that because I didn't know what to expect, I genuinely just like woke up every day and went about my day. And I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed being part of a new experience. And that's kind of what first semester was to me, is like I was doing laundry for the first time, which again sounds very stupid, but like these are things that I just kind of had to like fend for myself and do. And I didn't really understand it in the moment. And I didn't really understand like what college was yet. But at that point in time, I just thought it was about like meeting friends and making friends and kind of like being the best version of myself. Like I would go in the dining hall and try and have like my best and my like favorite aloe outfit because I thought that that was so important at the time. And I thought that that's how people perceived me was very important. And I don't know where that came from, honestly, because I wouldn't say I was like that in high school. Like obviously I've always cared about myself and my reputation, but I think with college and especially Syracuse, because it's such a tight culture, and the school is big, but like, again, I started freshman year on the Mound, which is a very secluded area. And like, even things as going to the dining hall, like people knew your face, even if they didn't know you, because once you're in the small Syracuse bubble, like everybody knows each other. And with that, and even living on the Mount, that kind of transferred into Greek life second semester, because you think that the school is so big and you think that there's no way that you would walk around and that you would recognize people's faces when you go to class, because duh, you're in college and it's so huge. But that's wrong, because even living on the Mount and then joining a sorority, you are seeing 250 plus familiar faces at all times. And like, there is no way that you're walking somewhere and you're not seeing someone that you know, or that you know of, or someone's name that you heard, or maybe a face that you've seen on Instagram. Like, this school gets so much smaller once you get involved. And I think that I didn't really understand that at the time. And again, I really tried to just be this version of myself that I thought was great. And I think that that did push me to be like a little bit more confident, because it was kind of like fake it till you make it, where I had to fake being confident, and it kind of pushed me to do that. It also really pushed me to get into routine. Like, I was going to the gym every day freshman year, and like whatever, going to the dining hall with my friends, and every night I would hang out with my friends, and I would go to my classes, and I would have routine. So that kind of pushed me to be a very routine person, which I was not like at all in high school. Like, yes, basically the same day is the same in high school, and like I feel like everyone can relate to that. Like, you go to school, you go home, you do extracurriculars, you have dinner, and you go to bed, repeat. But college forced me to be a very routine person, and really just forced me to like be a version of myself where I had to be confident basically in order to survive here, because otherwise, like, you're very overpowered by the people around you and the personalities around you. And there's a lot of people, and it's almost like survival of the fittest at the time, or at least that's what you think it is as a freshman, or at least I did. And then bam, you join Greek life second semester. And I loved going through recruitment. I just had a great experience because, as you guys know, I mean, I love talking. I can, again, talk to a wall, could think I could talk to anybody. So when I was meeting girls that were very similar to one another, or even very different from me, like, I loved getting to know that, and I loved getting to know people, because just as I did in the beginning of college where I was taking things day by day, like, that was recruitment for me too. And I think that my perception on recruitment, a lot of it came from my sister, who, as I said, went to Chapman. But if you don't know what Chapman is, it's this small private school in California. It was like an hour away from where we lived, maybe an hour and a half. And there weren't even houses on campus. Like, there were not Greek life houses. So my sister joined, and like, whatever, she got her merch and she made her friends. And that's kind of what I thought Greek life was. So I didn't really care where I ended up, because I was like, oh, I'll end up with the girls that I get along with the most out of all the houses that I'm rushing, because that's what recruitment is you join the house where you find people that you're similar to. And recruitment is your time to find people that you're similar to. So I was just kind of like talking to girls, feeling it out, but I never really considered myself like a rah-rah sorority girl. Like, I saw the movies and stuff with that, and like, I thought there were going to be girls exactly like whatever her name is from Legally Blonde. Obviously, I'm blanking now. But that's like, I was like, oh, that's not me. So I'll just end up in a house, and like, it doesn't matter. And I didn't really know what top house was. I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't know all these different buzzwords that people were saying to me during recruitment. In fact, I really hated it. Like, it really bothered me when people spoke either poorly about houses or even highly, because I'm like, you spoke to girls for maybe 5 to 15 minutes that day. Like, why are you basing your opinions off of that? Whereas I was basing my opinions strictly off of conversations, which is my biggest piece of advice if you haven't been through recruitment yet, is genuinely, like, everyone says it to be yourself. Obviously, that's hard when you're talking to girls and you hear so many things, but like, I think that's what made me have the good experiences. I really was just myself, and I was just there to have conversations and meet people. And at the end of the day, you go and you see which houses you get along with the most, and that's what defines your process. And I think when I first joined Alpha Phi second semester freshman year, I knew some of the girls in the house, but I didn't really know that it would change much. But I think at the time, I really thought that like, your sorority was your life. Just because at that point, I kind of was getting an idea of like what Syracuse Greek life culture was. And I just thought that like, once you join Greek life, like, that's kind of where the rest of your 3 years at college kind of put you, and put you like on the map per se, which I hate saying that, but really it's true. Like, people say that your sorority that you join has so much to do with like you as a person, or it's like, oh, you go to Syracuse, what sorority are you in? And it's like, why do you even care? Because at the end of the day, like that really tells you nothing as a person. But freshman year, you really think that it does. I will say though, it's very evident the people who rush for the wrong reasons or go a house for the wrong reason. Like the girls who were ride or die for Alpha Phi, or honestly any sorority at the time, are the girls that like I didn't really connect with and I still don't connect with now 4 years later. Because it's like, first of all, like why do you want to join a house so badly based on like these stereotypes and rumors and things that you heard? And also like if you're gonna go through rush and not be yourself, then why are you in that house? Like I am happy that I joined Alpha Phi because I know that I found girls the most similar to me there. Again, that doesn't go to say that I wouldn't find girls in other houses that I'm not similar to. But if you're putting on a front during recruitment and you're not being your 100% confident best self and like your natural self, then you're just going to join this house for no reason. And then it's like, why did you even join a house in the first place? So that was really my outlook with recruitment. And I think I really had the best experience because I was just being myself and really just trying to find girls that I connected with, which I'm so grateful for now 4 years later, because while Alpha Phi isn't 100% my life, obviously it gave me the friends that I have now and the experience that I've had, especially, and even the people that I met, like even my team who's behind this podcast, like I wouldn't have met them without Alpha Phi, and only 2 out of the 4 of them are in Alpha Phi. So it kind of just brings you to like so many other people. And I think now that I'm like about to graduate, that's what I can look on and be the most grateful for. The rest of second semester really is a blur because like you really think sororities are your life. And again, like everyone's kind of talking about it. However, I really think that because I was taking day by day, like I feel like I just blacked out mentally for the rest of second semester, freshman year. Like I just don't really remember much. I think also because at the time I was such a younger version of myself and I didn't go through a lot of experiences. However, freshman year as a whole, I do think I became more confident just because of the fact that I moved across the country for college. Like it really, really pushed me out of my shell and pushed me to be somebody that like I didn't even know I could be. I remember being like out with a bunch of people, and I didn't know that everybody at the school knew each other, as we spoke about a little bit in episode 1. So everyone, when they would go out or be in the dining hall, would have their people where they would play geography with, and they'd be like, oh, you're from here, you must know so-and-so, okay? So a little bit of backstory. My family / extended family owns Ben's Kosher Deli in New York. If anybody knows what that is watching, if you're from Long Island or Boca, you probably do know what it is. But that is something that I grew up with, and like it was so not important to me. But I remember being out and everyone was playing geography and didn't like really whatever, they connected with each other based on who their mutual friends were. And I remember I said to someone, I was like, oh, do you know Ben's Kosher Deli? And he goes, Ben who? And I was like, well, this is embarrassing. But that was my only connect to New York, was literally the deli that my family owns. And like, that was my connection to people here. And that kind of went into sophomore year and how I got so close with the girls in my sorority and my MC and even like my friend group, because everybody before that kind of knew each other, had a connection to each other. And I never had that. So my sorority was the reason why I got close to so many different people from so many different backgrounds who we could all still share the same similarity of we're in this sorority for the same reason. And it's still the foundation of like a friendship, which sounds stupid, but it's like, it is one thing that you can relate to, is being in the same sorority. So yes, that brings me to sophomore year, which was definitely not my highest point, if we're being honest. I think that because I took freshman year day by day and literally was living in the moment, which I'm really happy that I did, I think that kind of led to my downfall of sophomore year. So the question I get asked the most, did I live in the Alpha Phi house? No, I did not. I lived with Sloan again sophomore year, and we lived in this very weird house. If you go to Syracuse, it is on the strip of like Frat Row on Walnut, but it looks like an abandoned frat house, because let me tell you, it was, okay? It was a house of like 12 people, but it was still considered on-campus housing because Syracuse requires you to live on campus sophomore year. I really don't like it. However, they force you to, or you live in a sorority or frat house. So I lived in this house called I think it was like 206 Walnut. And it was like 12 people, Sloan and I, two of our other best friends who were in Tried Out, and then literally like the most random people ever. And it was literally a house of 12 people and like 3 bathrooms. I can't even think about that experience. It was very weird. So the reason why I lived in this house, or why I was able to live in this house, is because I told them about my allergies. Oh my God, I could have an entire episode just on this. I'm gonna really, really try and make it as fast as I can and not boring. The end of freshman year, I was not sick once freshman year. I didn't get frat flu. I was never sick. I was that person that would always flaunt and brag about the fact that I wasn't sick because I would take supplements every day. Okay, M.I.A, please. So it is about 3 days before we move out of the dorms. Keep in mind, I wanted to like keep my wall art up for like as long as possible in case someone new came into my room and I like wanted them to think I was cool, which it wasn't cool wall art, by the way. No dorm room is cool, by the way. As cool as you can try and make it be. It wasn't. Anyways, I wake up ill. I wake up so sick and I'm like, okay, this is a 1-day fever, 24-hour like fever, 24-hour flu. I'll be fine in a day. I end up never recovering for the next like week. Sloan moves me out of my entire room. I didn't touch a thing. Beyond grateful for her for that. I literally didn't pick up a singular item. I was in my bed with like a cold towel on my neck. Something was wrong with me. I go home because freshman year had ended and I see a doctor. He's like, you have, what's it called? He told me I have a sinus infection. So he gives me sinus infection medicine. I was like, that's weird. He's like, oh yeah, when a sinus infection gets bad, like sometimes you never recover from, or sometimes it turns into like a bigger sickness. And I was like, okay, so I take these antibiotics, whatever, for the sinus infection. I'm still not getting better. My ears are still plugged from the plane ride, from the worst plane ride of my life, by the way, where the person next to me had to move seats because they thought I was so ill. And I told them it was allergies. It was not allergies. Well, at least we didn't think so at the time, but I don't want to spoil it for myself. So then I have to see an ears, nose, and throat doctor because I'm not getting better. And whatever, they run a few tests on me and they do some imaging. He says, not only do you have allergies, but you have some of the worst allergies I've ever seen. You are in the top 10% of people with the worst allergies. And I was like, what are you saying to me right now? I've never been the person to have watery, itchy eyes. I've never been that like annoying person who's like, I'm allergic to pollen and like have to blow my nose every 2 seconds. So I was like, you're wrong. Like, I don't have allergies. He was like, have you ever been tested? And I was like, no, because I haven't had a reason to be. Turns out that my allergies were and still are so bad that instead of reacting by sneezing, coughing, runny nose, whatever, my nose starts growing these things called polyps. I start growing balls in my nose, okay? Long story short, I am still taking Allegra every day. I have to do nasal rinses every day. It's so embarrassing that this is literally going on the internet, but it's true. And I end up getting nose surgery. If you are watching the video version, you can probably tell that I did not get actual, what's it called? A nose job. I really wish I did. However, my parents didn't let me. They said they would never let me mess with my face. One of my biggest regrets of life, by the way. Really hate my nose, but that's a story for another time. So yes, that was my story of how I even got my excuse to live in 206 Walnut, because I told them my allergies were so bad, which they literally were and still are. But that was one of the weirdest things I've ever endured. Like, what do you mean I have balls growing inside of my nose? Anyways, let's get back to sophomore year and to the most important stuff. I think that sophomore year was a very transformative year. Maybe I started to gain a little bit of weight. I didn't really go to the gym as much. I was losing my routine that I got so into freshman year because I was in a new environment. And I am the type of person that hates change. I hate change with friendships. I hate change with location and even traveling and like packing. I hate because it means change. And so that to me was scary. And I kind of really dwelled on that sophomore year because it was fun to live with someone and share a room with them freshman year. But then I'm like, sophomore year, I kind of felt like I was getting older. I was having new experiences. Like I was already getting bored of the frat sophomore year just because it wasn't much like me to be so obsessed with that at the time. but I kind of forced myself to be obsessed with it, which I wasn't happy with looking back on that. It was also the first time that I developed feelings for a boy per se. And that was my first time, I wouldn't say having heartbreak, but like kind of getting effed over by a boy, which was something that I wasn't used to. And I really think I let that change the trajectory of my sophomore year and change a lot about what my priorities were. School has always been a priority, and I was already part of like organizations and clubs on campus. But I think that the feeling of rejection really, really got to me. Like, I just didn't really know how to cope at the time. And I think that that still plays a role in my life now. But I think that like, I wouldn't say I was depressed at all, but I almost like wanted myself to be depressed, and I wanted myself to think it was like this huge breakup, even though we never dated. I can't believe I'm putting this on the internet, but whatever. Everyone who knows me pretty much knows about this anyways. And my parents know. That's the most important part. But I think that like that really changed the trajectory of my entire sophomore year, because I was just kind of waiting for like things to get better. And also what I heard, at least as a freshman, I don't know about you guys, but I heard that sophomore year was the year that everyone starts like dating and like you find a boyfriend. And again, like I thought it was the troublemakers. Like I thought I would find my troublemaker at the time and find my boyfriend. I was nowhere close to that. So I was kind of like waiting on that sophomore year, and it was my first time like kind of like understanding that people dated and that people liked each other, and I wanted it to be my turn because that's what I thought our main priority was at the time. That was awful. So then sophomore year, I really wanted to transfer. I wanted to go back to my roots of going to USC. Obviously, they didn't even want me in the first place. I don't know why I say back to my roots. Like, there was no root there. There was literally no foundation except for the campus tour I got. But I really, really wanted to, and I debated it for a while. But thank God I didn't. And the reason why I didn't is genuinely because I loved my sorority. I loved the friends that I made. I loved the experiences that I made with my friends. And I honestly really loved my major, which like kind of sounds cringy, but like I really loved and still love Newhouse and journal. This now sounds like a paid promotion. It's really not. Like, why would Newhouse be paying me to say this? But I really just enjoyed what I was doing, and I enjoyed the people that I was surrounded with. But Syracuse, I mean, if you go here, and even if you don't go here, like you probably know that it's really in the middle of nowhere, and like there's nowhere to even go get like a good matcha, which sounds like a first world problem, and it definitely is. But like these are things that I was used to before I came to college. So like there wasn't food for me to just like go and get. Obviously there's food here, but like it was very different than what I was used to. And I think sophomore year it all really dawned on me that like it wasn't really a joke, and it wasn't really like silly and for like the shits and gigs. Whereas it was like, this is actually where I'm living and where I'm going to be for the next few years. So sophomore year, I kind of blocked out of my memory for a while. I wouldn't say it was a bad year overall. Like, obviously, I think I'm making it sound much more worse than it was. But, like, those are the events that I remember now looking back on it 2 years ago. And even, like, the Snapchat flashbacks that I get, which, like, sounds so stupid. But, like, that's what I remember. But, again, I also remember all these amazing experiences with my friends. I remember I basically lived at the house. I was always in the living room. I was always on the couch. And I made so many friends from being there. And that was, like... that was really the best. I actually miss that all the time. And like, I'm so lucky because I'm still friends with all those girls, and like, they're probably watching this also. But like, that's not just my immediate friend group. Like, and that's the thing is like, people think that you find your friend group and they want to find a friend group so badly. And that's such a buzzword here. And I hate it because it's like, yes, obviously when you're in a sorority of 200 plus girls, naturally you're going to find a group that you're the most attracted to and the most similar to. But who's to say that you're not going to be close with so many other girls and make so many other friendships? And those are some of the friendships that I'm going to keep with me for like literally the rest of my life, and that I'm so, so grateful for. So that's really what I remember sophomore year was just like being not the best version of myself and making new friendships also at the same time. So there were definitely highs and lows. That's how I would describe sophomore year. I think the biggest turning point, especially with my confidence levels, because those were so up and down over the entire 4 years, like, oh my God, we're going to talk about this more in a different episode, but long story short, I ended up going to New York City for an internship the summer going to junior year. And I think that really, really changed me and got me out of my comfort zone, because obviously going to college forces you to be a better version of yourself and like be more mature. But living in New York City, especially by myself at the time, really did it for me. We're going to touch on that more in another episode. But I think that brought me to junior year, which was amazing. And I cannot wait to tell you guys the entire abroad story, because that's also a question that I still get from everyone a year later. Anyways, moved into this amazing apartment junior year with my awesome roommate, and first semester was great. However, this was the whole thing of first semester, is I was waiting for my downfall, because I knew that I wasn't going abroad. And if you go to Syracuse, you know that abroad is like everything. Like, it's almost, people say it's like weird if you don't go abroad, which I obviously don't believe. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but like, it's unnatural, because I think out of like my MC and Alpha Phi, I think maybe there were like 10 girls that didn't go out of 65. So abroad is huge here. I know it is at other schools too, but I was basically told by Newhouse and my advisor that I could only go to, I think it was like London, New York City, LA, or stay at school, because Newhouse has New York City and LA programs. So the entire time, first semester of senior year, or first semester of junior year, I was saying I was going to stay at school and I was going to be the president of Alpha Phi, or at least that was like in my head, is what I wanted to do. Is I was going to stay and I might as well make the most of it and get involved and make even more friendships and be president. Because I didn't want to go to London. None of my friends were going there. And like, if those are my options for my major, I was going to choose this. Then I was speaking to my parents and I was like, what am I saying? I did not enjoy Syracuse sophomore year. I don't have a car here. It's so snowy. What would I be doing second semester all alone and like living in an apartment by myself and like walking to class by myself? So I was like, I'm going to do Newhouse LA. Okay. This really was the beginning of the end. So I decided to do Newhouse LA. So all of first semester is me kind of mentally preparing myself that this was going to end in December and that I was going to be depressed second semester. That was literally in my head the entire time, was I am going to make the most of it, which I totally did. And I actually had the best first semester. And that was like also the time where I think I really got the closest with my friends, because we all were like now maturing together junior year. But let's cut to my first day of Newhouse LA in January, second semester of junior year. I show up, I force my sister and my dad to come with me, because like whatever, they invited like parents to go. And I just remember being like, nobody here I was clicking with. They were all very creative, awesome students. Nobody that I like really knew. Like there were a few familiar faces, but nobody that I was comfortable with. And I was just, I remember going home actually for my first day of winter break and being like, wow, I'm going to be home until May. And then if I don't end up getting an internship, I'm going to be home until August. And that is 8 months of being home. So I was really freaking out. I think I was really trying to be positive. I'm also lucky that I have a very supportive, awesome family. But I just didn't really know what to expect. And I was really just assuming the worst. Anyways, first day of SULA is what they call it. I just showed up and I think I like went to the bathroom and I cried. I was like, this is not my crowd. There's no way I can do this until May. So I called the head of Newhouse and I was honest with her and I was like, I can't do this. This program is not for me. Like there has to be another option. Well, lo and behold, guys, let's just cut the story short. I withdrew from the university for second semester. And it ended up working out in my favor completely. I was taking online classes through community college. It's actually funny that I'm saying this a year later, because like genuinely, I think people still assume the weirdest things, and people assume that like I genuinely didn't go to school. And then people are like, oh no, you did like SULA the entire time. No. Let me tell you guys the truth. I dropped out of the university for a semester. They call it like a withdrawal because they know it's temporary. But I took online classes. But anyways, we're going to get into all of those abroad stories in a later episode. Those will be some of the most interesting things. It really was such a time in my life. I think I wouldn't say I like lacked confidence, but I did. And like it really taught me a lot about FOMO, because I wouldn't say that I'm a person with FOMO. I am like philosophical in a way where it's like everything happens for a reason, and like I wasn't abroad for a reason, so I'm gonna make the most of it in my experience. But also like obviously all my friends are like partying and having the time of their life in Barcelona. Meanwhile, the Tianos are eating dinner at a ripe 4:30 p.m. and then I'm reading and going to bed. So that was kind of like a really nice juxtaposition of like, it wasn't FOMO, but I was like, what am I doing? Keep in mind the worst anxiety of my life about internships, because I didn't get the same internship that I had the summer before. And I kept saying to myself, if I am home until August, like this is not going to be a good summer for me mentally. Like I was really, really worried about internships, and I was getting interviews and then I was getting rejected, or maybe I wasn't hearing back from places. So I was, on top of having FOMO, I was having really bad anxiety about internships because I really, really care about career stuff, and like I needed to be in New York City. Like there was no way that I was going to be happy at home. End up getting very lucky, and I got my internship at Forbes, I think like maybe like mid to end of March. So it was like a little bit later than most people already heard. But I mean, again, like the interview process for any internship kind of takes a while. So then once I got that, I was kind of relieved. And then my friends started coming in like one by one and coming back from abroad. And then I was like kind of mentally stable and like just ready to go to the city and like have a new experience. Because also, when everyone's abroad, that's literally all they're talking about. And they're talking about the people they met abroad and the clubs that they went to and the food places and all these inside jokes. And I think that's where I got the FOMO from. It wasn't like being there, but it was like, I just want to have new experiences, and I want everyone else to be done with abroad and have their experiences so we could just move on to something new to talk about. Like I was over talking about these things that like everyone else could relate to that I couldn't relate to. I mean, I wouldn't say I couldn't relate, because again, I was there for 6 different weekends, and like I did do a lot of the weekend trips and such. So I was just ready for junior year to be over, and I was ready for senior year. Going back to my freshman year self, I will never forget the day I like got my sorority fam and I went back to my Gigi Big Jill's apartment. Shout out Jill, she's awesome and sick and the coolest person in the world. But I remember being a freshman, I remember sitting there, and she was like graduating in a few months. Like she was literally me, but 3 years ago. And I remember being like, Jill, like, aren't you so scared to like graduate? Like, aren't you going to be so sad? And she was like, no, I'm honestly like ready to work and I'm ready to graduate. And I remember sitting there being like, that'll never be me. Like I was so caught up with like the frats and my sorority and whatever. And I was like, that will never be me. Fast forward now, me going into senior year, like I am ready to graduate, and like my friends are definitely going to be mad hearing me say this. And like I, again, have had such a great experience. But I think even going to senior year, which literally feels like it started yesterday, which is crazy now because it's February, I am just like, I feel like I'm such a different version of myself than I was when I came into school, that I am now like ready to move on and ready for the real world. Again, I've always been kind of career oriented. So like, I'm just kind of ready to work, which I know I'm going to regret saying, and I know I'm going to regret having Fridays and working, and you know, I'm going to miss like obviously sleeping in and being with my friends 24/7, 100%. I'm going to miss being with my friends all at the same place and all of those things that everyone's going to miss after college. But I think for me personally, like senior year has kind of been a blur. Also, talking about this is like so funny that I'm talking myself to a camera and sharing like shower thoughts basically, because I literally feel like this is like a one-on-one therapy session with myself. Anyways, so senior year, I was definitely really excited to come into it. And like, not because I knew that I was graduating, but I was like, okay, maybe I haven't had like the most perfect years of college. And maybe I'm not a person that's like going to ride or die for Syracuse after I graduate, but I'm ready to like make the most of it because I'm going into it knowing that this is the last time I'll be in this space like at this time. So first semester of senior year was so fun, but let's share my favorite story of them all, and it's going to be the fun fact for the rest of my life. Okay, guys, it's September, and life is great, having the best time with my friends, no big deal, okay? My mom's birthday is coming up at this time. She's early September, and for her birthday, she was going with her stepmom, who's from New York. She was visiting for my mom's birthday. She was going to be an audience member of the Jennifer Hudson show. Kind of random, but like in LA, you can get tickets to be like an audience member for like those live shows, whatever, for like free or for cheap or whatever. And I guess my mom just wanted to do that, whatever. Let her rock. So she wanted to go to the Jennifer Hudson show with her stepmom, and she was super excited, whatever. She got her tickets. Then I get a text from her, and she's like, girls, the producer of the Jennifer Hudson show just called. He wanted to get to know me a little more. And I'm like, Mom, you're getting scammed, babe. Like, maybe like you're just not used to it, but you are getting scammed. Why would the producer of the Jennifer Hudson show want to talk to you? I'm like, send me the number that he reached out to you from. Send me the website that you got your tickets from, because you are getting scammed and I'm worried for you. But basically on this call with my mom, because obviously she takes the call, love her, but she wouldn't say no to anybody wanting to speak to her. And he's basically telling her that like, he got to know a little bit about her. When you get tickets for the Jennifer Hudson show, there's an optional survey that you can take. My mom, I guess, didn't know that it was optional at the time. So it's asking you about yourself and like what you've done in the past, your accomplishments, who you miss, whatever, just a little bit to get to know them. So I guess my mom filled this out. She did not tell me that part at the very beginning when she told me that the producer reached out to her when I told her she was getting scammed. And so on the call, he's like, we got to see like a little bit about you. We saw what you submitted, and like we're doing a segment on moms, and we want to like just honor moms in the audience. Like, are there people in your life that could be a testament to how great of a mom you are? Okay, so she gives the producer my sister's number and my number, and she's like, by the way, girls, like he's gonna reach out to you. And I was like, okay, this is like the weirdest thing to ever happen. Like, this isn't accurate. Something here is wonky and wrong. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. She was right, which she's gonna love to hear those words. I don't think I've ever admitted that anyone else was right besides myself in my life. But so the producer ends up calling Bryn, my sister, first. And he tells Bryn, he's like, okay, we lied. We're not doing a bit on your mom, but we saw all the things that she's accomplished. She's written a book, whatever, all these amazing things that my mom has done. We love surprising people on the show, and we love bringing our guests up to the audience, or our audience guests up to the stage. We want to do that for your mom. Keep in mind, Bryn is texting me while she's on this call, and she's like, Mia, this sounds like a joke. Like, why is Lisa Tiano going to be brought up on the stage? Like, this is the weirdest thing to ever happen. So he was like, we're going to bring her on stage. We're so excited, blah, blah, blah. So Bryn calls me after, and she's like, heads up, the producer's about to call you. This is what he's going to say. Just be ready for that. He calls me. He's basically giving me the same rundown. I'm almost like laughing on the other end of the phone. I was like, this is bizarre, but I'm like, my mom is going to love this. She is such a TV personality. She's such a personality in the first place. So then he's like, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your mom. When's the last time you saw her? And I was like, oh, I had an internship in the city over the summer. So I actually haven't seen her since May, around my birthday, because when my internship ended, I had to go straight back to school so that I could be at school in time for classes. And he's like, you know what? We love surprises here on the Jennifer Hudson show. We want to fly you out so you can surprise her on the show. Guys, I was dumbfounded. Honestly, still saying it out loud is probably the weirdest thing in the entire world. So I call my sister. I'm in my bed alone when this happens too. And I'm like, I think I'm being flown out, but like sounds too good and too weird to be true. So I'm not even going to like believe it until the flight is booked. Fast forward 2 days later. It is Tuesday, I want to say. He books the flight. I'm leaving Thursday morning. Okay. Like, I am out and on the go. End up surprising my mom on the show. Honestly, one of my favorite moments ever. But like, even though that didn't happen while I was at school, that is my favorite moment of Syracuse and of my college experience. Like, it is the weirdest, wildest thing that I was flown from Syracuse into Burbank Airport. They gave me a driver, a chauffeur to pick up to and from the airports. I was like, literally, what is going on? To be on the Jennifer Hudson show, which like, love J-Hud, but like I didn't really watch her. I don't really watch talk shows. Like, do many 21-year-olds watch talk shows? Like, not really. Maybe I watched Ellen when I was younger, but whatever. Long story short, funniest, weirdest story probably of my life. And when I am asked for a fun fact, that is 1000% it. Besides telling people I have a podcast, as long as they don't make fun of it. Anyways, so that was first semester. Otherwise, that brings us to here. February of senior year. I feel like I am just again, like I really hope people aren't like mad at me for saying this, and I hope it's not a hot take, but I just like really feel ready to graduate. No, I don't have a job lined up. Please don't ask me that. And if you are watching this and you think you're going to ask me that within the next few weeks, just don't. Let's just avoid the conversation for us all. I do not have a job lined up yet. And obviously that's a scary thought for me. And like, again, as I said, change is so scary for me, but I think I'm ready for it. And I really think I will miss Syracuse, but I am so grateful for the friendships that I've made. And I especially think, and I actually was recently talking about this with my friends, I think that my friends have led me to be the most confident version of myself that I would have never pictured to be freshman year. Like even starting a podcast, like yes, I had a YouTube channel in high school, but like having a YouTube channel in high school is kind of performative, like kind of doing the best you can and having the best makeup and you want all your friends on it, whatever. But like, I don't think I would be able to just sit in front of a camera and be supported by all my friends and not even have a thought in my head that like people could be watching this and making fun of me, because I have such supportive friends who have led me to be this like very confident version of myself as a human being. And I think genuinely my friends, my family, and my experiences for that, like again, even moving across the country into the city for both of the summers, like really forces you to get out of your comfort zone. And I think if I ended up going to USC, like that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been out of my comfort zone, and I would have ended up going home so often. And I think I would have been coddled and babied a little bit more. And senior year has been fun, like nothing too exciting, maybe because we're in the dead of winter, like no love interests, like no like exciting things really happening. However, I am just like happy to be here. And I think honestly, the most exciting part of it is my podcast. And I think even just sitting here and like talking to a camera and editing and putting on the internet and like working with girls who I didn't even know before this year, like has also forced me to be a confident version of myself and get out of my comfort zone and do things that like I wouldn't have pictured to do. Even though people like, I remember over the summer, one of my friends told me, she's like, you need to start a podcast. And she was like, you just have like the weirdest, wildest stories. And I was like, yeah, like it takes a lot. And even when we were starting this podcast, I mean, all this production started in October, and I think we were just waiting for the right moment. But it's like at the end of the day, like it's literally me talking to a camera and like, okay, now we got this mic for like episode 2, which is hype. But like the whole thing of it is literally just like being the best version of yourself and doing things outside of your comfort zone. And I think literally going to Syracuse has given me all of those opportunities and all of those experiences and have given me all these amazing girls that I've met. And it's great that no one in my immediate friend group is from LA, because that is what I thought I could relate to, is having these foundational home experiences. But instead, it's like I can relate to you in so many different ways, whether it's careers or sense of humor, which is like so important to me, and just like very niche little things that have shaped who I am as a person. So that is the synopsis of my 4 years here. We're going to have so many more stories though moving forward. And there are a million stories that are yet to tell from my 4 years here that we're going to touch on so much in other episodes. And we have so many funny stories coming up. Like our next few episodes are going to be so funny. I'm going to have one of my best friends, Carly Kushner, on here. I just want you guys to meet her like as soon as possible. She is the best. I'm going to have all my friends on here. We're going to talk career stuff, and we're going to talk all these funny stories that we've endured literally right here in my apartment, right here in Syracuse. So I'm very excited. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to me for the past however long of hearing me speak. Good thing I had my nose surgery before this podcast started, because my voice changed so much. If I was my nasally self on this podcast, I mean, people would probably report it so that it couldn't ever be uploaded. But anyways, we have very exciting things coming. I'm so glad that you guys were here to listen to me talk. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week.